Any community, whether it's a small country village or a thriving metropolis, relies on the dedicated teams of emergency services. We're talking police and crime investigation, ambulances and hospitals, and of course, fire departments that deal with everything from a cat up a tree to a burning skyscraper. In our Lego town and city, we've seen those bright red firehouses, fire trucks and cars, and even boats and helicopters all come together to be ready to jump into action at a moment's notice. If you're calling 911 in the US, 000 in Australia, or IXII in ancient Rome, you need to know they'll be here and ready to help. Today, we're going to be diving deep into the history of one of Lego town and city's most enduring sub-themes, fire, and how it has evolved over 7 decades. So slide down that pole, pull on your boots and slap on that helmet as we climb aboard our fastest fire truck. I'm Lord Paul, and this is Lord Paul's Bricks. Hey Brick fans, if you're new here, welcome. And if you've been following my reviews and history videos, welcome back to the channel. If you missed my videos chronicling the early days of Lego Town and City and the evolution of the police sub-theme, you want to check them out, so I've put the links in the description below so you can catch up on our adventure. Today though, we'll look more closely at the evolution of another mainstay sub-theme, the fire department. There's so much I want to cover, so I've split this into 2 videos. In this part 1, we'll look at the humble origins of the fire sub-theme, trekking through Legoland, Lego Classic Town, and the Lego System World City period. In part 2, we'll look at how playability for the fire sets went off the charts in the Lego City theme from 2005 until today. If you're enjoying my content, please remember to hit that like button and make sure you subscribe so you'll always be first to know when my next video lands. Your comments and feedback are always appreciated. You never know, your idea could show up in a future video. We need to go all the way back to 1957 for that first fire set, and that set is 1308 Fire Station. It was a 109-piece set with one of the original fully moulded plastic trucks. There was no base plate, but it was designed to fit onto one of the town plan boards that were available at the time. This set was followed up in 1958 with a truck on its own. These moulded trucks were 1:87 scale, which is the same HO scale used for model trains. It was in 1964, though, that the first brick-built fire truck was released with set 305, and then in 1968, there was a larger truck in set 336. In the early 1970s, the frequency of fire sets increased, starting with the 1970 set 347 Fire Station. This set was finally built on a base plate and included 3 very blocky vehicles: a fire truck, an ambulance, and a tow truck. Talk about a multi-talented fire service. There were a few more fire trucks released in 70 and 71, and then another firehouse in 73. I have a review for set 357 Firehouse on my channel, and this was quite a good set for the time. The white building harks back to the original 1957 set, and there hasn't been another white firehouse since. The vehicles in this set had some better functionality and were quite a lot less blocky. The final fire set to be released before the classic minifigure era was 1975 set 693 Fire Engine, which included the early statue minifigures. This set included such features that we know today and take for granted, like a seat for the driver and somewhere for the crew to sit. The future really was here then. In the period we now know as Classic Town era, around 30 fire sets were released, and there was a nice evolution of the various vehicles and buildings used in the sub-theme. Kicking off in 1978 with 7 sets, the Hero is the first fire station since 1973 and the first of the minifigure era. Set 374 was a yellow building which referenced the 1970 set with a black roof, red detailing, red vehicles and 4 minifigures. This was built across 3 different sized base plates, but had the feature where you could open the building with a hinged section on one end. This set was also modified with a different colour scheme, a new set number and a new name. Set number 590, and called Engine Company number 9 for the North American market. If we take a minute to look at the minifigures of this era, there isn't much variation or development of the minifigures. The sets of 1978 featured minifigures with black torso, black legs and a black helmet. There was a sticker applied to the torso with 4 buttons and a grey waist strip. From 1980, the firefighter minifigures all featured the classic printed torso that was to be used in fire sets all the way through to this era until 1991. Early versions of the minifigure had a black helmet, White helmets were introduced in 1981 and pretty much became the standard by the late 80s. In 1991, we saw the airport firefighters and also a firefighting team on a fireboat. The only set in 1980 was set 6690 Snorkel Pumper, which still featured the old stickered minifigures, but the function of this set offered a far better play experience than previous vehicles. You'll also find a review on my channel for 1981 set 6382 Fire Station. With 366 pieces and 4 minifigures, this was a huge advance on the station from 1978. In addition to the new printed minifigure torsos, it also introduced the roller garage doors, a unique printed base plate, and the hose reel assemblies. The layout of this set also set the pattern for the next 2 stations that followed. Over the next few years, there was a variety of vehicle sets introduced, such as a handy little fire chief's car, a fire rescue van, a firefighting boat that floated, a firefighting helicopter, and the fire rescue squad in 1984 with a firefighter on a motorcycle. The fire station of 1985, set 6385, was a nice but really an update of the set from 1981. With 384 pieces and 3 minifigures, it followed the same basic formats in terms of structure, with a garage on either side of a control centre at the top. This set also featured a tower that could be used to dry the hoses, which was an important part of keeping your hoses dry and to stop them from rotting, particularly in the really old days when they had cloth hoses. It was well kitted out with 2 well-designed vehicles, and overall it made for a really, really good set. There was only one other set released in 1985, and that was set 6657, the Fire Patrol Helicopter. But 1986 was a really good year because it introduced a series of light and sound sets across the LEGO range, which had 9-volt battery powering lights and a siren. The light and sound fire engine was set 6480. In 1987, an updated snorkel truck was introduced with set 6358 snorkel truck, and this was a nice evolution of the original snorkel pumper from 1980. There was only a couple of sets before we got to 1990 with set 6389 Fire Control Centre. This was the 3rd set in a line that started with 6382 in 1981, but this set was a nice step forward in that it included a firefighting helicopter with a landing pad on the roof. This had the highest piece count of the 3 sets at 507 pieces and 4 minifigures, and it had a really nicely designed fire truck with a water cannon on it and a really handy utility vehicle. In 1991, in addition to set 1656 Evacuation Team, set 6531 Flame Chaser and set 6593 Blaze Battler, there was another floating fireboat with set 4031. This included 4 minifigures and a helicopter. A crossover model between fire and airport is the 1991 set 6440 Jetport Fire Squad, and this was another light and sound set that was really based at the airport, with minifigures styled with the airport logo on the torso and black fire helmets. So that wraps up our look at fire for the Classic Town era. So let's jump forward now to the sets that were released during the LEGO system period, also known as Town Junior, and the World City theme. If you've watched some of my other videos, you'll know that I'm not much of a fan of the town sets of the 1990s, particularly the late 90s. The sets became more simplified and didn't carry much when it came to aesthetics. LEGO really tried to aim for a much younger audience for their sets at the period. The development of the minifigure in this period was, to me, more interesting than the sets that they were in. And it started with the first updated firefighter torso prints for 12 years. The main print in 1994 has a couple of variations, and I guess one was for officers or the chief, and they both have a nice design with the flame logo. There was another torso print in a light grey torso for a technician, and the torso print featured an air gauge either clipped to his shirt or hanging over his shoulder. In 2000, the firefighter prints became far more detailed, but for the first time were printed on grey torsos. There was a jacket and tie print for the chief and various utility prints for the firefighters. It was in 2004 for the World City theme that the new torso print was back on a black torso with reflective panels and a walkie-talkie print. A much needed return to form with these minifigure torsos. But getting back to the sets, there were a couple of vehicles in 92 and 94 and a half decent set in 6340 hook and ladder truck, but I cannot warm to set 6571 Flamefighters Firehouse, which was introduced in 1994. For me, the set lost the charm that we'd become accustomed to and seemed to have some really odd proportions. There was nothing particularly special about the subsequent sets of the 90s, such as 1997's set 6554 Blaze Brigade, which was a highly simplified station, but without any garages for the trucks. But rounding out this period was set 6429 Blaze Responder Boat, another simple set. A set that sounded promising with the name was set 6464 Super Rescue Complex, which also featured police. There was another helicopter set 6477 Firefighters Lift Truck, and the final fire station of the period, which was 2000 set 6478 Firefighters HQ. There were two firefighting sets under the World City theme in 2004, which included set 7043 Fireboat and 7046 Fire Command Craft, which was a set with two boats. No fire stations in World City, which was really, really disappointing. So that's it for part one of our deep dive into LEGO Town and City Fire Department. We've covered the origins, the classic town era, the 1990s, and the World City of the early 2000s. Up next, we'll look at how playability for the fire sets went off the charts in LEGO City theme from 2005 until today. If you're enjoying this series, hit that like button and subscribe so you'll be the first to know when the next episode lands. And always, your comments and feedback are always appreciated. I read them all and respond to them all, and you never know, your comment or suggestion might end up in a future video. So keep on building and keep expanding your amazing LEGO towns and cities. I'm Lord Paul, and this is Lord Paul's Bricks, and bye for now.